Shut the hell up already! I ain't taking orders from you! Ah!
Matthew, your actions have made the future uncertain. Have you no regrets? Given a choice of this magnitude, surely there is doubt.
Oh, believe me, got 'em in spades. That's why we move forward. Always ahead. See ya. Alpha.
Now what? Oh.
Right we are. Just one last thing then.
Yeah. You got it.
Hey!
Is this why they've been here? If they're connected to Alpha's existence, then...
Alpha was, and I am, an avatar. The spirit of your world. Just like Alpha needed all of you. You and your world. You need me.
An avatar? What?
It's no more. So someone else has to pick up the slack. The annihilation events, they'll keep happening whether you like it or not. The world needs a bit of propping up.
Until the time comes. Yes.
Hold up a minute. Who's someone? And for how long?
Well, you work that part out.
Don't do this! You don't have to sacrifice yourselves!
It's not like that. We're helping.
And that's different how exactly?
Fundamentally.
That's what sacrifice me.
Glimmer. As long as you lot do your part to change this world, it'll all go back to normal.
And if we don't manage, then what? My lifetime. It's barely a blip.
If you don't, pass it on.
Huh?
Let someone else carry on your dream. That's how we've always rolled. Us lot.
It's not much, but we can offer you a gift. We can imbue you with our life, keep the wheels turning. That way, you'll be able to live out the rest of your lives. Enough time to do what you must.
No, but...
Oh, hey, don't get us wrong now. We're just taking a breather. It's all right. We'll meet again. Trust me.
Teacher, boss. This is against the rules. You know this.
Don't be a spoilsport now.
What rules?
If it was them,
How are there
I
rules?
don't think they'd even bat an eyelid at helping.
Admittedly. Well, I suppose you have earned it. Very well then. I didn't see or hear anything.
Thanks a lot, Alvis.
It's kind of them.
Then, it's all up to you now. With us taking the role of the Avatar, Zed may well seize upon it to gain power. What we did, and all that concerns Origin, will become but a dim memory. Nevertheless, our intentions will live on, and one day coalesce again. Be it tomorrow, or in 1,000 years. Surely, the time will eventually come. I can see it, clear as day.
Our future is in your hands.
We'll be waiting at the far edge of time. You actually did see it coming, didn't you? All the time.
Right? And all that will.
The only thing I see is what the flow encompasses. But your hope lives on. That much is certain.
Right. A little bit. Oh. Uh-oh. That's... Well, did that just imply we killed all of Colony 9 and everyone that was there? Wait. Like, okay, I get the concept of why there's a big hole in the middle now, but...
Righty-ho. Wanna get back to it then?
I highly doubt you have the strength left.
Same
Not without
goes
Rex.
for you.
Not without Rex.
Mobius will never change. In any way. Forever transfixed. They will guard the endless now to the last.
Including you.
Naturally.
Well then, we'll be busy.
What if you cannot make it happen? Your lives are pitifully short.
We went over this. You got wax in your ears. If I can't, someone else will, down the line. Who knows? Maybe it'll even be you.
Friend fail yet again. Did Riku not say? Should not use so much noise bite.
What? You said to throw in a bunch of them. You told me.
Riku did not. Nickel must have poor hearing.
Honest to Spark. You still going at it?
What do you mean still?
Just break the
It has to
entire
be
stone?
done. We're powering up the Ouroboros stone. Just about done with it now. We've accumulated all this data. Now if we could only encode it in the operative photon wave frequency.
If you get it to work, we'll be able to deploy that power whenever we feel like it, right?
Right. I'll admit the photons have limited capacity, so we won't be able to empower quite that many people all in one go.
Oh, more importantly, you don't want to be late. The send-off?
Oh, that's right. I better get moving.
There's a lot to process at the moment, I will say.
Take care, alright? You sure you're gonna be fine alone?
Oh, yeah. It'll be a relief, if anything.
Well, someone's full of himself.
Matthew, thank you for everything.
Ah, and thanks right back at you. Also, while I'm gone, keep an eye on the city, eh? Nael, Nickel, Glimmer, Panacea, Linka. Oh, and you, Riku.
Why Riku lost?
Once I found us some friends, I'll come home again.
Get back safe.
Sure.
Alrighty. Time to start rebuilding the world. Matthew Van Damme is out of here!
You're standing at a loss in front of a door.
There
that's
we
been
are.
Closed for so long with your foreseeing eyes.
Oh,
What
this
do
is...
you see? Until you open it,
All the more reason for the
you
definitive
cannot
edition of this to
know.
be made.
Afraid to see what could be on the other side. Oh, can't you see how much I feel the same as you? It seems we just need to let it all go free. I've seen that look before. The stare of your fearful looking eyes. That quiet voice inside. What do you
Oh, I miss sword whips.
Will you give up and stay where you belong? Afraid your time, it just might take too long. And you won't know unless we keep on trying. Now we need the strength
And that's the gauntlet, yeah? I'm seeing that shape correctly. Hello, Jupiter. Ooh.
I see you by the door.
Ooh.
So just walk through.
This has an implication.
Take too long. 'Cause everything you've said, you'll find it there. In a
Wait.
future.
That's a singular one now. With a thing coming in. Singular world is interesting. Because they were split at the end, right? Oh, you fucking... Oh, you fucking baiting me. Oh, okay. Thoughts. That credit sequence was great. That was fantastic. That's a wonderful note to leave it on. A couple thoughts. There is a... I legitimately could not care in the slightest. Close. Let's say if I was with the game completely, then it will be able to be permanent cutscenes will not be affected in future redeem. Okay. If any growth and weapon strengthening is not available. Okay. Well, whatever. Good. Setting levels. Yeah, don't care. It's always been sort of a weird... It's always been a weird choice to make it It's always been a weird choice to make it so that you couldn't, like, bring your level down to do stuff. It always seemed like a technical limitation that they just didn't want to balance around more than anything. With that in mind... Oh, that's nice. That's a much nicer visage now. Okay, thoughts. Also, why the hell are the two, like, tag-alongs in this? Riku, I get. Why are the other two here? Okay. More all-encompassing thoughts now that we're 24 minutes into the first episode going out on YouTube at the moment. That's the literal time where we are currently. Okay. I'm going to start with the gameplay stuff just because I want to get that out of the way so I can talk about the stuff I actually give a shit about at this point. It is, I'd say, almost by and far the worst gameplay experience I've had in the series. Like, bar none. There are fun elements to it, like, the parts of that were fun in the base Xenoblade 3. A good amount of it was still there. But almost every instance of something I can think of in terms of what was changed, outside of, I guess, like the manuals for being able to affect the chain attack more, almost every instance of something that was changed, I actively thought made it a worse game. I could go down the list one by one, but obviously I've talked a bunch about how the affinity stuff being basically connected to progression basically fucks the gameplay loop to the point where it's more of a collectathon game as a genre rather than a JRPG with collectathon side activities. I find that, honestly, the more I think about it, the more stupid it feels to me, to be frank. If you like both of those, it's fantastic. If you don't, and the other thing's just, like, okay as a change of pace, it's fine. as a change of pace, then you won't like it, basically, because it's basically forcing you into doing something that you're not there to do. It kills pacing of the gameplay user experience if it's not something that you specifically want, because you don't have the option to just do what the fuck you want to do at that point. There are, like, legitimately, I never found the fucking memory locket. Is it in this? Maybe. Memory locket is the one that lets you do that, because I did end up looking that up. Like, wasn't there an accessory that let you do that? I looked it up and I found the name, but I didn't bother to go farther to see if it was even accessible, because I was just... It might be in this, it might not be. But if it was a collectible I was supposed to be able to find at some point, I don't know, maybe even buy at some point, I don't know. The idea of them itemizing everything into hidden equips, you have to go do all this other stuff, is just bad. Good if you specifically want all that, bad if you're anyone else. With that said, the other element of it is the character customization, where having the affinity stuff sort of be, oh, you pick and choose your skills, would be decent if there was actual fucking choice. Let's look at the Rex one that I got most of the way down with the affinity stuff I ended up actually doing. It was entirely for that singular, hyper-optimized build for crits and that you spamming that one attack. You're basically funneled down a specific build. It's not a choice, it's min-maxing. You're just being told, hey, you haven't done enough side content yet, so you won't be able to optimize more. Pick and choose how you want to optimize until you do more side content. You want to get good at the game? Optimize more, or side content more. That is so innately inferior to the class system or even the blade system. I don't remember Xenoblade Chronicle 1 system well enough to know that, but I do remember the most fun part about the character customization in that was Fiona, right? Because you were able to basically make her into any of the roles that you wanted to, right? And you also had the fact that you had a variety of characters you could mix and match to play with different play styles, and that gave you more freedom with that alone, right? I don't know. I could just keep going down the list of like the things that were changed, and it's like there's little I think there was probably a bunch of little like quality of life improvements that are good, but like the major innate design things, I just cannot fathom how any of those are a good idea unless you're like optimizing for a super specific way to play, which is so innately removed from what I consider like being a good way to make JRPGs, because it's min-maxing. Not like the sandbox of you can make your own. It is you find the solution to the problem rather than you find your solution to the problem, which sucks all fun out of a gameplay system. So it's so innately fundamentally broken at like a fundamental level because of the changes they made. And I am almost definitely using hyperbole because it's still fun to an extent. It's just boring relative to the other stuff they've done in the series. I'll say that. So, that's my gameplay thoughts. Which basically boil down to I'm scared for whatever the next game is. I like legitimately to the point that instead of going into it blind, I'm probably going to be looking stuff up on the gameplay system to see if it's the same sort of thing again. Because at that point I'll know to just like say fuck it. I'm just gonna play a normal or easy or whatever. And not really even try to pretend that I want to engage in that. Story. Let's talk about the good stuff. So the presentation was like the base game. It was all very good. It was excellent. Like music, storytelling, scene composition, that sort of stuff. Still not really sold on voices. Nicole never really came across that well. Glimmer, I just want to look up her voice actress at this point. So she was... Okay, so she wasn't anyone else, but I did come across something where that indicated that there was a voice actress that did both Pyra and Mithra that didn't come back. to play Glim, but she was very much sounded like she was a sound-alike, and she did a good job at being a sound-alike. And it feels more like a voice direction thing than a voice actress thing, so I don't want to give any thing on the voice actress, because I think for what it was, probably did a good job. She sounded bored 90% of the time, and I'm not a big fan of that. Shulk was great. Rex's new voice, I thought, it grew on me. It was a bit off-putting at first, but I thought that was pretty good. Matthew never really stopped sounding like he was putting on a voice, so that's also sort of like I'd say that's like I'm neutral on that. I thought was really good. Who is... Okay, because I also thought A was... I thought A sounded like someone previously, and no, that's also someone different. So she just sounded similar to my memory of, I guess, Mio. With a similar face. And, similar... Okay, maybe that connection was completely... Because, they never brought it up in any conceivable form, even with N around. So that was totally me, just, seeing parallels and remembering things incorrectly, so that's funny. She did a good job. I like that, in terms of voices. In terms of everything else, story-wise, let's get into the actual story. So presentation was good. Some questions on the voices that I'm not really sure what was going on there. It felt like voice direction decisions I'm not really understanding. Maybe there was something that just... Yeah, it didn't work entirely for me for some of them. Some of them very much did work quite well. Presentation overall, very good. Story-wise, I can't help but be left with sort of it feels like... It sort of feels like cut content. Like they wanted to make this part of the story in the original. Because it feels so innately important to the sort of send-off to this arc, while also not really being... While also feeling what's the best way to phrase it? While also feeling inconsequential. It is weirdly... unlike the Torna stuff, which we knew a bunch of stuff about, but it was so innately important in character arcs and stuff like that, and we heard a bunch about it in the story for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it was really cool seeing that play out. This one, it felt inconsequential, I guess, in terms of the grand scope of the story itself, almost like it wanted to be part of the original game to an extent, but it felt like cut content. I don't know a better way to phrase that. It was cool. I like the idea of Alpha basically being sort of a polar opposite to Zed to sort of tie together the themes in a much more nice bow, where it's the the base game was all about living in the now because you're afraid of going to the unknown of the future. And this was all about, hey, the now sort of sucks. Let's reject it entirely. And sort of tied together the idea you have to be able to bring those two together. Don't forget the now, don't forget the past, as you continue to walk towards the future. And I thought thematically the writing was great. I thought all the Matthew Niel stuff was a touching story in that sense. The stuff with N felt... It felt like a fleshing out of something that we heard about, but not in a way that's oh, I was curious about that. So it was good, but not great. Seeing Shulk and Rex here, I'm still a little confused about that. Were they connected to Alpha and in some form? Because they started the fact that they were here after so many generations that N is active in the form that he's in, right? It's not like they're just there and living out their lives, right? They'd have to have some semblance of immortality, which might just literally be what I was saying before with the whole concept of maybe the people that are just their normal selves are just sort of in the now because the now just lasts forever, right? Which I don't know how that works. in terms of like why that works for them but not the soldiers and stuff like that. Lore-wise, it all feels, as much as I enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the story of this, it all feels messy. I don't know a better word for it. It feels like they didn't really go and explain things. This wasn't like a, hey, we explain things in a more concise, clear manner. It's in the nature of stuff. To an extent, they did. To a little bit. More like, where were certain people elements of that. But in terms of the lore of like how the fuck things work, it felt... It's still... I will also say, I'll give some credit of the doubt, benefit of the doubt here, that I may just be forgetting things from the base game that would tie together better for here and make things more clear. So that is completely possible. I don't want to do that, but it still feels on the messier side relative to the other ones, which sort of had their... Because part of it was like they had their own sort of like worlds, and they connect it to the other ones by this sort of like general concept of like this big event and this Trinity processor that made everything happen. And it was sort of a weakish link. And I remember Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had just like the best explanation. It was such a cool concept. I remember that. I love that. This one, it was always pretty cool, but there was a lot of like innate plot elements. All the Ouroboros stuff. People being alive, like the queens and Shulk and Rex here. I'm going to sort of just group them together because I don't have another way to explain it. Outside of them being connected to Alpha, which, based on how they talked about after I started speculating that, it doesn't seem to be the case. There's just the swords and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's some like, oh, it's because of this, and it's like, wait, but how does that work? And it's just like it's good, but it's not satisfying, right? That's probably the best way to phrase it. It's like I enjoy it and it's fine, but it's also the sort of like innate, like I can sit down and sort of speculate through like, oh, this feels like a really solid world with a lot of thought put behind the specifics of the lore and how everything specifically happens. Doesn't feel there as strong, because that is the thing that really pulled me into the first Xenoblade Chronicles. The fact that I could sit there and sort of like, you have this like these rules of the world sort of being introduced as I go through it, and it felt like I could speculate out the story because I could sort of just guess this might be how the world works. I got tons of stuff wrong, but it had a sense of cohesion that I never got as strongly from Xenoblade Chronicles 3's sort of setup and that sort of stuff. Sort of muddies the water a little bit, I guess, would be the way to phrase it. And it really feels like the series would benefit from a cleaner slate, which feels like what they're trying to do here, right? Set up a cleaner slate so that they can, particularly in that end thing where it became one world again, could be like that. Weirdly, I'm complaining about the story, even though I'm saying I enjoyed it. I'm just a critical motherfucker, ain't I? Sorry about that. I know I'm negative about the gameplay and positive about the story, but I'm still like being negative about the story as I'm talking about it. I thought it was very good though. Very enjoyable. I felt like the gameplay hurt the pacing of it in a lot of ways, especially I guess in terms of the structure of the story. The actual plot itself, I'd have questions too, just on the pacing. Because there was fun stuff and all that sort of stuff, and then it sort of was like, okay, lore dump, ending, another lore dump, and good. Well, also having those moments throughout where I guess like the stories were like Matthew and Niall's. That one was told throughout, and I thought that one was good. That was sort of like the core of it. While they gave moments for Shulk and Rex and their kids throughout, and that wasn't really a proper story. It was a side story, but that was well done enough. The sort of like world story that they were trying to tell with Alpha and whatnot. Part of the problem is like even now as I finish it, I still feel like, well, is this how Alpha worked? Is this the progression of how Alpha's thought process worked? And that sort of stuff. It does feel like I'm still sort of speculating, which gets back to the sort of muddied water part of it. But you know, it'll be what it is. I know the end result, at least. because I guess the part that really interests me at the moment is, like, while I enjoy the story and speculate, it was just like the ending elements. So, a really, 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 I think, notable part of it was the implication that Jupiter was still just fucking around doing whatever it was gonna do, right? The Earth, or whatever they call the Earth in all of this, was the only thing affected by all this. That does seem to be the implication. And if I was my speculation before about trying to tie in Xenoblade Chronicles X, seems to imply that there's the opportunity for that to get tied in again later by the rest of the universe just sort of being off doing its own thing, right? And then there could be the old world versus the new world sort of dichotomy, which could make a really interesting story. Imagine the colonists coming back or something after having like a super long time of being in this state of existence. And it's like, oh, we built up our societies and we've come back and we find the Earth in this state. It does, like, the ending part, especially with, because it had that little thing coming down too. That could be part of it too. Oh. What's the other potential explanation? So there's the two worlds and they seem to separate again because like the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they clearly separated. But then one showed up. So the other thing that comes to mind as a possibility is the two worlds of this sort of went off and they're doing their own thing. They're continuing on in their own, say, pocket dimensions or something like that. And because it's not trying to reform to become Earth again, just a new Earth was created and it's like a third world that life gets to start on again. Or because the soldiers are unique to the Endless now and whatnot and are sort of like the souls of the people that existed before it all started, the soldiers would then become... They would go off into their own worlds, but what happened to the people of the city? Ooh, that could be it. The third world left behind could be the people that were like born and the lives that were lived outside of the origin system. That could be how that plays out. And it's just the people... That would make a lot of sense with Matthew being the sort of protagonist of this and it ending on that note. So... Ooh, that makes me real curious. Because that seems like a direction they could go with it. That seems like a legitimate direction they could go with it. Especially if they're opening up the possibility of, like, the colony stuff that they're talking about. It doesn't even matter if it's Xenoblade Chronicles X or not, because I'm not really sure what else. I need to play through that at some point, right? There's a decent chance I'm going to play that on lower gameplay difficulty next time I try that. Because I do have the Wii U, and I did try to play it before things got in the way. And then that probably won't play it for a while, because there's a bunch of games coming out in the near future that'll probably take me the next year to get through. But with that in mind... Yeah, that actually does make me quite excited for what might come next, because that does seem like a pretty cool idea of a direction they could take it. The tricky part of all that then becomes, though, is you sort of remove the Trinity processor from it all, don't you? The idea is that the Trinity processor... So, the original concept of Origin was the idea that these worlds would collide and basically blow up, and we don't know exactly what would come of them. And then recreate the worlds exactly as they were after the fact. Presumably with, whatever concept you consider a soul in this, being transferred along to the new existences. Oh, that does make sense. So the concept of Origin is the concept that they'd recreate the worlds, right? If I'm remembering that wrong, feel free to correct me. The concept of Origin is that they recreate them after that event. It doesn't mean the event's not going to happen where they rejoin and shit gets destroyed. So, okay, that makes sense. So the world is really just the result of what was going to happen, while they were able to save the worlds and the people in them by using the Trinity processor and Origin to yeet them off back into their own dimensions and stuff like that. Okay, that's very interesting. And the world's just back to normal, basically. All the struggles and problems that Klaus created, become we have the proper real aftermath after all the stuff went down, eh? No, that's real cool, I think. I enjoy that. I think that is a great situation to put the universe in to create a really interesting next game. So I'm excited for presumably Xenoblade Chronicles 4. I know they've had other Xeno stuff in the past, so I almost feel like they might call it Xeno something else. But we'll see. Either way, I think that's probably a good place to end it on that hope and optimism for the future of the story, the future of the universe and whatnot, because the more I think about it, the more intriguing possibilities come to mind. I feel like I could do this for another hour. Just try to sort of like think through what could that specifically mean. I'm a little interested by so it did show sort of like something coming down from space, right? What that means, hard to tell, right? It could mean a lot of different things. It didn't necessarily happen right after it came back, though, so it doesn't mean it had to have been something that was like part of the process of the world coming back, basically, right? So I think that's, I don't really have much more to say. I think, I could do this for another hour. I don't think I should, though. Either way, honestly, suddenly my favorite part of this entire thing is that, like, post-credit cutscene. That has actually legitimately become my favorite part of this expansion. Either way, I did enjoy the rest of the expansion. If I were to give this thing a rating, if I played it on normal all the way through, I'd probably give this thing a rating of 7 or 8 out of 10. Something like that. I'd probably give it lower just because I did run into the frustrations I did with my actual experience on it, with the story really carrying it. If I played it through on normal, I'd still have the problems I'd have, but they wouldn't have been nearly as frustrating. But overall, I'd say good game. I guess one last thing I should probably do at the end of this sort of feeling like they're really trying to like set a clean slate to move forward and things aren't as innately connected as they may have been previously. I would say let's rank them basically, right? Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That was my favorite. Then I'd probably put Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition after that, just because there's stuff about it that I think has aged significantly more. But like just the introduction to the universe and that sort of stuff, I had so much fun with that. I can't discount that. After that, I'd probably put Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Torna on a similar level to how much I enjoyed them. Obviously, one significantly longer than the other. Below that, I'd probably put Future Connected, and then this. As much as that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. It just means I've enjoyed it the least out of the series to this point. That said, like, Future Connected was like sort of it was a thing. So that's actually a good discussion. So this had high highs, low lows, while Future Connected was sort of a bit above average the entire time. They're probably similar. I could probably rate them similarly. The high highs of this are really good, while the low lows, while the middling of that sort of probably even out to around the same amount. Either way, don't let my opinion of it stop you from enjoying it, because it's just one opinion, right? And don't let my, just as I won't let anyone else enjoying it stop me from having my opinion, right? I hope you did. I hope you also look forward to the future of the series, because honestly, at this point, I actually have excited myself back up just by speculating it through. So that's probably a good place to end it then. I'm over 4 hours recording today, so I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you all for coming on this journey between all these different games in the series towards what feels like a true ending point before a fresh new look at another game. Getting a few series that are getting to that point between Trails and this, probably my two favorite series that I'm actively following and playing every game for. It does feel like we're in a good place for a fresh new tomorrow, a fresh new future, and I hope the future we all walk towards together is one that we see bright and we see other clever words. I didn't think of anything to say. So, I'll see you all next time. Whenever that may be, thank you for coming along. And until then, drive safely, everyone.